Welcome back, Spurs fans, to the Scott Hepler Football Channel. And we're doing our predicted ponderings today of the upcoming Tottenham versus Leeds United match on 21st of November. Getting back into the matches after the international break. So we're going to go through here. We're going to break down who we think Conte's going to play, some of the things that need to be considered. What do we think that's who should play, if that's who he plays? So we're going to get into that. As I mentioned in my preview video, if you haven't watched that, my preview ponderings, I know I've been kind of sporadic on my uploads and stuff, but a lot going on in my personal life and things. But I'll try to post as I can until things get settled down a little bit and here and there. But with that being said, I think Spurs are going to run a 3-4-3 formation. Some of the things to consider are the injury issues and situations that Spurs have going on right now. We still have Ryan Sessegnon out. Heel is still out. And Romero is now out for a minimum of a week and a half, 2 weeks. So we lost him during the international break. So that's going to be a huge factor in what Conte does. Now, he could go back to a 4 at the back or stay with his 3 at the back. I personally think he's going to stick with his 3 at the back. The real question is, what does he do with that back 3? So here's what I think he'll do. Of course, we're going to put Lloris in goal. There's no question about that. It's always going to be Lloris at this point in time until further notice. With the back 3, I think he's going to go with Davies, Dyer, Sanchez. I think he's going to go with Davies because he's our only left-footed center back option, and he wants a left-footed person back there. Dyer, of course, has been getting play, so he'll stick in there. And I think I'll bring in Sanchez. Sanchez gives a little pace. Everyone talks about Sanchez all the time. His physicality, his height. He just gets worked over all the time. If it's a physical forward or someone, for me, the only thing he provides is pace, a little bit of pace as a center back. Beyond that, I don't find that he's that strong in the air. He's not that strong as a player, just being physically strong and holding his ground. So for me, it's not anything great. In my opinion, if you're going to bring in another center back and keep Dyer and Davies there, I think it should be Rodon. My personal preference is Rodon. I actually think Rodon should be in there over Dyer, but that's just me. Rodon's far more intellectual than any of our center backs, and he is proactive in his play versus reactive, which is Dyer and Sanchez. And that's why they get themselves in trouble often, is because they don't see forthcoming issues or danger. They're constantly only reacting to it, where Rodon's the opposite. He foresees issues, he foresees the risks, and does what he can to mitigate it or eliminate it completely. So that's just the different play styles that these center backs have, and I would prefer to have a Rodon in there. So that's me. But that's who I think he'll have at the back. When we look at the 4, whether you want to call it 4 in the midfield or the 2 midfielders and the 2 wing backs, whatever, I think he's going to stick with what he's been using, and that is Reguilon, Højbjerg, Skip, and Romero. Or excuse me, not Romero, Royal. There could be an argument here that he might want to try to bring in Ndombele and switch that out with either Skip or Højbjerg to try to create some ability for link between the forwards and the back line. But I also think we need our stronger midfielders who are going to hold up against the Leeds United midfielders. So are we sacrificing progressive play for protection? Yes, in this instance, yes. But I think that's what we need, because Leeds has a strong midfield, and they're going to set up to be effective through the middle. And we got to counter that or do something. Now, there's some, we'll talk about another option here after we get through the 3-4-3, which I think Conte could use. But there's another option I think we could do to help with the midfield, but that means a little different formation. So then when you go to the 3 forwards, I think he's going to stick with Son, Kane, and Mora at this point. Son and Mora, they provide pace, they provide quickness that can cut through the line, provide dangerous runs into the back. And, those channels can be very profitable if utilized correctly. Kane, he's going to be there because we really have no other striker option unless you want to try to throw Song in there and then take Kane off completely. But, Kane's he's shown this past international break and in the Conference League, he can play if he wants to. It's what his motivation, what his energy level is, which gives us a bench of a myriad of players. And, it's not a bad bench, but it's not a bench that you're like, ooh, we got some players we can bring off the bench here to make a huge impact, because that's just not the fact unless you kind of throw in Ndombele in there. But for me, and Ndombele, when he played against Everton, he was just didn't provide a lot for us. So that's what I think he's going to do. I think the mistake would bring Sanchez in versus Rodon. But if he did something to where he wanted to provide protection and still have a bit of a link up between the back and the forwards, he might try a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-1-2, and which keeps the back line. I think the back line is going to be the same as. The only difference is you bring in an Ndombele and put him in front of the 4 midfielders. And that way there is a little more protection for that midfield. It adds a little more protection, and it provides a link-up option between the back line and the forwards. And then that puts Kane and Son on either side of Ndombele, and it actually forces Kane to be more active and doesn't allow him just to be a hold-up player, in my opinion. And that's a better, because when he's just been a hold-up player, he's been very easy to mark. He's been very ineffective, and it's just not worked well for us. So forcing him into a situation where he actually has to be more involved, engaged, and actually active is a positive, in my opinion. And that's something that this formation could do. So got a lot of upcoming matches here over the next 6 weeks. 13 matches, 10 Premier League matches. You got to figure in 7 of those Premier League matches we're probably favorites. So there's a huge opportunity here for Spurs to kind of get themselves back in the contention of even top 5, top 6. Right now, we're struggling, and to stay in the top half of the table. But there's opportunity here, and can we seize it? As far as this match, I personally feel this is going to be a 1-1 draw. I don't think they'll pitch a shutout. I don't think we'll pitch a shutout, missing our best defender, or at least our best defender that's been playing. And I'm hopeful, though, for a 2-1 win. But I feel like it's going to be more of a 1-1 draw. These players are still trying to figure out what Conte wants, how he wants them to work within his system. So there's still a bit of a learning curve here that's going to happen, in my opinion. At this point, I'll still take a 1-1 draw over what we had been prior to the Everton match, because we've been pretty horrific. Yeah, but let me know what you all think. A lot to take in, a lot to soak up, and come on, you Spurs.